Today on Hitch20, Alfred Hitchcock experiments with a stream of consciousness narrative.
We go through this emotional journey while the actor doesn't even move any muscles in his face.
What can filmmakers of today learn from these forgotten gems of television? We examine the episode Breakdown of Alfred Hitchcock Presents.
He's alive!
Much has been said about the 52 feature films that Hitchcock directed, but nobody talks about the 20 television episodes he also directed.
Good evening. I'm Alfred Hitchcock.
The Hitch20.
Funding for Hitch20 is provided by GLIDECAM, world-class camera stabilizers, and by Michael Weesey Books, the world's leading publisher of books on screenwriting and film making, and by the all-new Paralinx Triton, ultralight uncompressed real-time wireless monitoring. We also enjoy the inspiration of subscribers like you. Thank you.
Joseph Cotten and Hitchcock just loved each other. They both loved great wines, great food, and storytelling. I guess they both understood darkness, even though they were gregarious, light-hearted men in many ways. Teresa Wright.
I never heard Hitchcock raise his voice on set. He often spoke in whispers, and his quiet authority commanded deportment from all aboard. Joseph Cotten.
In the 1940s, they both worked together on Shadow of a Doubt and Under Capricorn. When he first started his new TV series, Hitchcock called on his longtime family friend to star in the first episode. Breakdown was inevitably superseded by 6 other episodes before it actually aired, but in a way it exemplifies the experimental nature that the series would take on. It features Joseph Cotten paralyzed by a car accident, unable to move for most of his time on screen.
Cotten is playing the version of Cotten that Hitchcock likes. When Hitchcock worked with Cotten, unlike when Cotten worked with other directors, he usually cast him as unlikable characters or, in fact, as villains. So there is a certain expectation to see Hitchcock working with Joseph Cotten, that Cotten will be either the villain or at least an antagonistic character, and that is pretty much what we see at the very beginning.
But what can filmmakers of today learn from this episode?
So the breakdown is almost like Hitchcock winking at us, saying, I can take you on this journey emotionally, and my actor will not do anything.
Instead of going crazy with the camera movements and trying to bring an energy to the film, he starts having static shots of Joseph Cotten's face.
Stillness is one of those things that's unusual in a film and unusual in television. Usually either characters or the camera is moving. And so when you go to absolute stillness of both the actor and the camera, what we end up with is something that builds tension.
Oftentimes when you have characters who are unable to move for some reason, the camera provides the movement. And unfortunately, sometimes what will happen for a director who makes that choice instead is they will ultimately lose the sensation that the character is going through.
Hitchcock's solution was to experiment with a stream of consciousness narration. The audience would hear the protagonist's thoughts in a voiceover while seeing various angles of Cotten trapped in wreckage.
I can't move anything. I can't feel it. I'm paralyzed.
The speaking voice is key to this performance, and he's done radio. He has experience doing radio with people like Orson Welles, so who better than to play a character who suddenly only has the voice in his head to keep him company.
When directors plan out their shots, they have to make choices along the axis of proximity. The closer shots are more emotionally intense. By cutting to a close-up, it creates a sudden intensity for the audience. By cutting from a close-up to a wide shot, the audience feels the helplessness of the situation. So Hitchcock had found a clever way to orchestrate the proximity of these shots in order to emphasize certain lines of narration that we hear.
Somebody'll come soon, so I'll just lie and wait.
It was an ingenious mix from many different perspectives, and a bit like a cubist painting, he found a way to dig deeper into subjectivity.
There's a thing I call the skin jump, where the audience becomes the character on screen and we live their story, we live their life. That's one of the most important things you can do in a film.
We go from first just becoming aware of what's going on, not quite understanding, to even, hope. There's some people coming to help. And then it becomes anger. Oh, they're here to steal our stuff. We go through this emotional journey while the actor doesn't even move any muscles in his face.
The brilliance of this kind of narrative is that it resembles what an audience thinks while watching a film. In a way, Cotten is actually speaking aloud the audience's thought process.
Now what? Who is it? Have they come back? Oh, somebody else. But who?
Funding for Hitch20 is made possible by GLIDECAM Industries. Filmmakers around the world know that GLIDECAM stabilizers give you the smoothest flowing video with easy operation. Both professional filmmakers and amateur movie makers alike can enjoy fluidity and grace in their cameras. It's no wonder GLIDECAM is the name and future of camera stabilizers.
Hitchcock had a way with using locations to put pressure on his heroes. Breakdown is a great example of introducing a hero in the exact inverse of what he is about to face. While he starts out on a sunny beach, Kalu will quickly be stranded on a desolate roadside and eventually taken to a morgue.
Immediately in the very first scene, we already know everything we need to know about this main character. We know he's fabulously rich and he's very important. He's a workaholic almost.
Hitchcock always started with a happy scene, poolside, everything's nice, and we go to Joseph Cotten's character, William Kalu, who is relaxing by the pool, having drinks.
When we first see Joseph Cotten, we see him in a bathrobe in Hollywood. We know that he's a producer of some kind, so he is very much Joseph Cotten in Hollywood.
We see that he's at a fancy beach resort, and he's not relaxing. He's constantly working. He's dictating to his secretary. He doesn't even write his own letters. He has something to dictate to. He's taking long-distance phone calls. I mean, today, a long-distance phone call doesn't mean anything. We have Skype and all these, voice over IP. Back in those days, a long-distance phone call was something that rich people had, that powerful people had.
It's the suddenness. If a thing like this can happen, then I can't be sure of anything. Anything.
Since this episode is about facing weakness, Hitchcock starts with someone who declares that he hates weakness.
The man is too old to get any other job. Kalu is just like nothing he can do. And as a matter of fact, he is so annoyed by this guy that he takes the phone away from his ear as the guy's begging on the phone. And then he finally hangs up the phone.
We've been cut off. Operator, we've been cut off. We've been cut off.
Can you imagine that? He was crying.
You might not think that's important, but what happens is, as the episode progresses, Kalu's character has everything taken from him. His clothes, his shoes, his car, everything. And then he breaks down and cries. So this is actually setting up what happens later on in the story.
For Hitchcock, filmmaking was all about leading the audience into the mind of the hero. He often used a subjective editing style with an emphasis on the hero's thought process, piecing together what he called a visual sentence.
The breakdown is also interesting in its use of montage. Now, first you have that traffic accident that occurs. That's an obvious use of montage. The way that Hitchcock was able to weave in close-ups of Joseph Cotton's character reacting, turning the wheel with shots of the bulldozer.
He spins the wheel madly to get out of the way. All quick edits.
Notice you never actually see the car hit. There's no impact ever. Now today we might add a lot of explosions and glass flying everywhere. Hitchcock didn't need to do that. In fact, we don't even need to do that today because the accident wasn't the point of the story.
Montage is a way of looking at film editing by the impressionistic interaction of shots placed one after another. It was theorized by Lev Kuleshov in the 1930s. What he discovered was what became known as the Kuleshov effect, where an actor's face seems to change emotion based on the shot before and after it.
So what Kuleshov discovered was it wasn't just what's in the shot, what the contents of the frame. It was how the contents related to other shots, the assemblage.
The car's coming along, and as Hitchcock always does, the character sees something, then the audience sees it, and then we see the character's reaction.
There's a great shot when he's on the gurney looking up at the morgue sign, and there's an actor who's just barely in camera range, but it's the back of his head. It's like a not framed well, it's an ugly, messy shot, but the great part about it is it's exactly what that character would see. So we are in his shoes, or in this case, on the gurney, looking up at what he would see.
This is where Hitchcock got the idea behind his famous quote that the best actors must be able to do nothing well. He certainly got his wish in Breakdown.
When he cries, there's a tear that goes over the lens, as if we are looking through his eyes and see that tear in our eyes.
This is how he was able to strip away complexity and focus on simplicity in storytelling. Hitchcock's cinema language uses hands, feet, and objects as the primary drivers of the suspense plot. Kalu checks his feet, can't move them. Then he hears tapping and realizes that he can move one finger.
Now when they come, all I have to do is tap. Tap.
Hitchcock then uses this simple goal and teases us with it. Many chances go by for someone to notice the finger, but they never work out.
When the police and the fire department come to pull him from the car, he thinks this is it. He's going to tap his finger, they're going to hear it, but they can't hear it.
As he's wheeled into the morgue, the audience at this point is hanging on to the chance of the simple plan working.
You can't hear his finger tapping because these gurney wheels are squeaking and squeaking, and he begins to panic a little more as he's running out of time.
At the last moment, when things are finally quiet enough for the tapping to get someone's attention, he realizes that his hand is stuck silently underneath his body. The audience and Cotton are both helpless at this moment.
I can't hear it. It doesn't feel like it's moving. What's the matter? I can't move it.
It was this sense of hyper-present clarity that makes Hitchcock's films so compelling to watch, and so suspenseful. There are some other notable things to look for in this episode.
If you watch really closely, you'll see Aaron Spelling, the producer, as one of the burglars there.
Notice the two convicts. One of them is James Edwards, who is a great actor. He will, in the very next year, be in Kubrick's The Killing, in a pivotal role in one of my favorite scenes. And then a few years later, be one of the important characters in Manchurian Candidate.
Breakdown is an example of Hitchcock's experimental television. It's a great study of the stream of consciousness narrative that perhaps can serve as inspiration to today's filmmakers.
Join us at Borges.com for more on Hitchcock and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Read our Hitchcock ebook and watch our Hitchcock homage film, Offing David.